Hi, everyone, and welcome back. And with me is Richard Forster, Supervisor.
District 2.
I haven't seen you in a while.
That's right, Tom. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Well, we don't have to vote for a little while, so some of this stuff can slip my brain and open up some brain cells for I don't know what. But anyway, here we go.
Well,
you've got a interesting agenda tomorrow.
Yeah,
so
not counting closed session, which is pretty long. There are 16 items on the regular agenda. You know, it sounds like it's going to be a long meeting. I really think it'll go pretty fast.
Okay.
So most of these items are...
You're an optimist when it comes to the speed of the meetings.
Well, I just look at the items, and they're pretty simple to understand, most of them. The first one is an auditor's office item. Becky Podesta will be in, and we're going to give her a resolution upon her pending retirement from the County of Amador.
Okay.
Becky's put in a lot of years. I don't have the resolution in front of me, but I know ever since I've been here, 12 years as a supervisor, she's been here. And I think she was here a long time before that. She's second-hand person to Joe Lowe in the auditor's office. And, you know, when we rely on Joe, we rely on Becky because they work as a team and really going to miss her. We tried to get her to stay. She won't stay.
Well, I think they've done a great job.
Yeah.
The office.
Well, we've tried to get Becky to stay, and she says absolutely not. She's ready to retire. So,
okay. When
that time comes, it comes. So, next up, we have an appeal for a fee refund for Mr. Eldon Waite, and this is regarding last meeting's agenda item where he appealed a decision of the Planning Commission. This is regarding the old Arroyo ditch and property that he has that's adjacent to that, as well as some neighbors, and the Arroyo ditch runs through the property. There did not appear to be sufficient protection built into that, and there were still negotiations going on. City of Plymouth was not noticed of that, and they are the ones that actually hold the deed to that now from the county. So they have to keep that ditch up too. They were not notified. They should have been. It's a glitch in the system because the planning department is not aware of things like that. There's no way for them to be aware unless they've been involved in some of the past discussions. So Mr. Waite, anyway, will have an appeal on this, and you know, I think in a case like this, it probably looks like it may be warranted, so we'll discuss it further tomorrow, and might be quick work by the board.
All right.
We have APAL Humane Society coming in. Susan Manning is the president or chairperson of that organization, and this happens every year. They come in and request about $15,000 from the Board of Supervisors to run their spay and neuter activities. The way I look at it personally, it saves the county a lot of money. If you look at their statistics, right now the amount of animals that are impacting the shelter are down from what they were as of October of last year. 1 year rolls around, the numbers are down, and they're down by pretty sufficient numbers, so that saves the county a lot of work and a lot of money, having to take care of all those animals.
Kind of getting ahead of the problem that way, right?
I think that's the right way to do it. Rather than have even the feral cats. You know what? A lot of people just say just dispose of them, but they have programs where they bring the feral cats in and spay and neuter them and release them out to the
I imagine some of those feral cats are just domestic cats that somehow never made it home.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
And then they get a little bit good in the wild, and
well, now they call them colonies. I'm not sure how much I agree with that, but you know, the feral cats are around. I see them around my house. The best thing you can do is, if you're not going to dispose of them, trap them, spay and neuter them, and then release them.
Right.
So.
We just did that last summer.
Right.
At our house.
We have a discussion on replacement for Mr. Floyd Martin, our Veteran Services Officer. As you know, we did an interview. I did an interview with Floyd a couple weeks ago, and we are going to miss Floyd. He is really dedicated to the veterans and trying to do the best job for them. He's got some ideas how we should replace his position. I think he's going to be on the committee, as well as Supervisor Novelli and myself.
Okay.
And the only qualifications right now is that, well, they need to be computer literate. The job description is here. They need to be computer literate. They need to be a person that can work with the veterans. They need to be retired military from one of the branches with honorable service. And pretty simple.
So they need a retired status, so that means they need to be in for, what, 20 years at least?
No, they just need an honorable discharge.
Okay, all right.
Just an honorable discharge.
All right.
I can tell you, and Floyd concurs, that they need to be computer savvy, because he is not the most computer savvy, and he said the way the Veteran Service Office is going is everything's being computerized. Right. So that's a big issue that we'll have to fill that position.
That's good as well, because I'm sure it speeds up service.
Yeah, we want to get the right person for that position, too. Major M funds will be discussed tomorrow, and the distribution the next year of those funds. Every year they look at population, number of calls that each department makes, and distribute the funding based on that. This is not involving Kirkwood at this time, but it will look at the raw statistics. How many calls were made? What's the population of the cities? Looks like Jackson and Ione have gone up a little bit. AFPD has gone down. So every year it moves around a little bit. And see, some of these items should be in and out. They're pretty simple. We have a resolution accepting the canvass of results of the votes that were cast on the November 6th election. Sheldon Johnson, George Allen, Debbie Smith. So probably Debbie Smith's last meeting. I don't think she's done yet, but she's also retiring. But they're going to present the stacks. And, you know, it's a thick document. There's a lot of good information here. I was looking, for instance, at the race between Frank Bigelow and Rico Aller. You know, there are some precincts where Frank Bigelow carried them 2-1. Ultimately, though, in Amador County, Frank Bigelow, even though he got elected in district-wide, he ended up with about 220 less votes in Amador County. Not as bad as he did the first time, where he only had 40%. But some of the districts, some of the precincts, he clearly carried them.
It's very interesting to look through, and I do that as well. Go ahead. And
we have a resolution appointing solid waste independent hearing panel members. It sounds like a big deal, but we haven't had this hearing panel convene in years. I was on it the last 2 years. That's the maximum amount of time you can be on it. I'll rotate off. Another supervisor will rotate on. You need one supervisor. You need one member of the public. You need one person with the technical expertise on that.
Okay.
So looks like, I believe, Supervisor Boitano will take the place. Yes, he'll take my place, and Grant Reynolds has 1 year. He'll go for a second year, and then a member of the public will be appointed from there.
Okay, we're going to take our floating break at this time, Richard, and then we'll come back with more about the meeting for tomorrow. So stay with us right here on TSPN's News.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.
Hello, everyone, and we're back. And go ahead, Richard. Why don't you continue on with the agenda?
Well, like I said, should be a quick meeting, but I'm rolling through these items pretty fast. And tomorrow we'll talk about Central Sierra Economic Development in the district. There's a $25,000 contribution that's required from the entire district to keep this operation running. It is important because they have started some economic activity in some of the counties. Calaveras has a big biomass project right now that could generate as much as $700,000 for that county in jobs and income for people. So Amador County's share of this, I believe, is slightly over $3,000. Looks like $3,618.84. So we'll contribute our portion. I don't think there'll be an issue there. But next, the bigger agreement, we have the Central Sierra Economic Development District Joint Powers Agreement. Each entity has to decide who the representative is going to be. Amador, I believe it's Supervisor Novelli right now. He will continue, I believe, to represent us in that capacity with our appointment. One of the changes here, it now becomes an appointed position by the county. And then each of the cities in Amador County get together and select a person to represent the cities on this Joint Powers Agency. So all of this is basically cleanup. Besides those critical decisions, all of this is cleanup to basically go through the Joint Powers Agreement, change some wording on it, and make it much more clear. One thing we need to do is look at last year's budget. Mr. Cope, who's the executive director, believes that $10,000 allocated from last year should be enough without any further allocations from counties.
Richard, what is the mission for the?
Comes down to basically economic development, businesses, trying to start new operations to get businesses and activity in the counties that generate income, generate jobs, positions for people, generate employment for them, and income for them. So it's pretty clear.
Okay.
Sometimes it goes off in other areas too, housing and things like that, but the main mission is business and trying to develop a good business atmosphere and get projects in here.
All right.
Next up, we have this 2013 Joint Board of Supervisors meeting schedule. Pretty simple. It's going to be much like it was last year. We meet on we're not going to change. The activity level is so slow right now. We're not going to go back to every Tuesday. It's going to be the second and fourth Tuesdays, except for December, which is just the second Tuesday. Because of the fourth falling on Christmas Eve, we're not going to meet on that day.
So this is the final meeting of the year tomorrow?
No, we have one more meeting this year.
Okay.
We have a meeting on the 18th, and we already have, I believe, a public hearing scheduled for that day. So,
all right. Glad you cleared that up for me.
With that, we were talking earlier on the break, and told you I'm going to head down to Sacramento today. Right now, it's 12:21 on this day, and they're having the swearing-in ceremonies for the new legislature in Sacramento. There aren't very many Republicans. I was at a dinner last night in Sacramento, and it's pretty sparse, the amount of Republicans in the Assembly. And as you know, the supermajority for Senate and Assembly will kick in. Interestingly, everybody acts like it's going to kick in right now. It's not. There are two members of the legislature, Democrats, that were elected to Congress. Their positions have to be filled. That won't happen until about May. There is one member of the legislature they expect to resign and fill a position in Southern California who is a Democrat. That position will have to go to a special election if that happens. That won't happen until close to the end of the year. And I'm getting this from our lobbyist from RCRC, Paul Smith. So if that position is not filled, that will not give them the supermajority until close to the end of the year. And
so will they fill it by an appointment first, or will it just go to election?
It appeared that position had to go to an election. The others will have to go to an election too by special election in May. Mr. Smith, our lobbyist, does not feel much is going to change in Sacramento because there are enough moderate Democrats that will not side with the majority, with their party on some issues, hence not giving them the supermajority. They will side, obviously, on some issues, but where he thinks the shenanigans will take place is at the close of the sessions when things happen real fast, and that's when he thinks the games will be played. So we really have to be careful. Sacramento Bee this week had an article on Sunday morning, Dan Walters, about Prop 13. Part of his article regarded Prop 13 and whether the legislature is going to mess with Prop 13 and try and increase it. They said many states have increased beyond the threshold that California is at. What he noted, though, is California, after the passage of Prop 13, the taxes actually, the amount of gross revenue actually went up to about $55 million. And the reason being that California is much different than other states. For one, its property values are much higher. So even with Prop 13 in place, they were bringing in more tax revenue than they were prior to the passage of Prop 13. So all it's doing is putting that cap on, though, so that people, especially middle-income people, low-income people, elderly people, can afford to live in their houses. If we mess with Prop 13, what I'm afraid of is, I might be able to pay it, you might be able to pay it, but there's a lot of people out there that are going to have problems.
Well, I agree, and it would seem, though, that California has an insatiable appetite for programs that cost money, so it would that's going to be interesting to watch.
Well, that's what our state forefathers have not learned, is how to live within their means. So how do we take care of that? You leave it up to the individual districts, Assembly and Senate, and at the state level to vote for the right people that will legislate like they would, legislate and budget like they would at home. I mean, most of our legislators aren't going to live beyond their means, and yet at the state level, they think they have an open book as far as what they can charge and what they can pass out there.
Well, it seems to be very difficult to educate people, to bring them along to see the wisdom of conservative, and I don't mean conservative in a political sense, but spending conservatively, like how much you can afford and how much, you can expect from the businesses in the state without businesses leaving the state.
Yeah, I'm going to 2 receptions today in Sacramento after the swearing in, one for Assemblyman Brian Daly up from the Lassen area, the other for our Assemblyman from District 5, Frank Bigelow. Both of them are not afraid to speak their mind. They may not be in the majority, but they have alliances too, and the big advantage I see with them is they were both former county supervisors. So they understand. The former city council members and former supervisors understand from being involved that we have very tight budgets, and more rules, more laws, more regulations are not what we need in this state.
Okay, Richard, well, we have to go, and stay with us. There's more on the other side of this break.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.